T.A. Alabi, and we will be discussing preserving the African heritage and preserving the African heritage, culture, and values. Now, I want to quickly go through the speaker's profile. Speaker Tola Alabi is a sage, thinker, and a teacher of godly principles. He considers himself simply as a curious student of life, and he shares his unique thoughts and insights on life, work, and relationship. He sums everything up as life branding on his podcast, Pro Up Masterclass. He's very passionate about clarity. He's very passionate about helping people find clarity in life. So he's a well sought after speaker. He's a mentor. He's a teacher, and he's here with us tonight. And he wants to help us understand more about preserving the African heritage. So TA, I'd like to say welcome to Emerge, and this is Emerge 2024 Design Series, and I'd like to thank you for your time tonight. Please, I hope you can hear me. The mic is yours, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Okay. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Should be unmuted. Okay. So I think Lucky, just a moment before TS starts, just trying to get in touch with Lucky. This is actually meant to be a Q&A, right? So that's why I had to just come in a bit.
Oh,
so it's meant to be primarily a Q&A, yes.
So okay.
Just a moment. I will get back to you in a minute. Okay, so I think can you allow me to take this so that we don't waste much time?
Oh, okay. I was just about.
So since I already have
I got questions.
Yeah, since I already have.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, great.
Yeah, I got questions.
Please go ahead. Go ahead. Since you have them already.
Okay. Amazing. Fantastic.
Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. Sorry for the delay. We're going to be talking about preserving the African heritage and all, and I just want to start. I believe, so I may be wrong, but I believe there's a war, there's a cultural war going on right now, and it's especially to the soul of Africa. I'll put it this way: there's this cultural war going on right now, and Africa is at the it's at the receiving end of this cultural war because of a lot of influence, a lot of Western influence, and all. So I guess I want to start by my own question. I want to start by my own question. So do you believe that there's actually a war going on, and or is sort of change that, from your time growing up till now? Has there been some sort of huge a shift in terms of culture when it comes to Africa, or in terms of like the values? I want to start by that.
All right. Thanks for having me in the first place. I'm very glad to be here. So thanks for inviting me once again to Dezign Series, Emerge, and I think I've been on Dezign Series now for as long as it has been, and I never get tired of being here because of the interesting subject matters that you, one way or the other, come up with. And I truly find today's subject very interesting. Talking about preserving the African culture or African heritage. And it's a very interesting subject matter because, going from your question saying, is there a war that is eroding our African heritage, our Africanness, our cultural systems, our value systems? Yeah, it's a straightforward question, straightforward answer. There is a war. There is an erosion of values. Things have changed very quickly over a very short period of time, and I think in the past, it used to take um, a generation, you understand, for things to change slightly. But now it takes a year. You understand? In a year, people's mentality and value system can change, and it's only going to get shorter. You understand? Very soon, it's going to take just a few months for people to begin to adjust their value system. So, it's a very worrisome thing. But it's a truth that there is you know, when I was growing up, the world had different cultures. So the world was a very colorful place. So you could see someone, even within Africa, you could hear different accents. So the Nigerian, the Ghanaian, the Cameroonian, the South African all sounded different. And then when you leave Africa, you see that the African sounded different from the European sounded different from the American sounded different from the Asian, and the Asian sounded different from the Arab. But now, when you're watching a video and you see a Chinese guy and you mute it, you see a Chinese guy talking and you put it on, you see a Chinese guy with an American accent talking. You understand? It doesn't have an Asian accent anymore. He just looks Chinese. You see somebody who is obviously Arab, he has their Emirati clothing on. You see him wearing his white, what they call that scarf or turban or whatever it is. And when you hear him, he's talking just like an American. He's talking with an American accent. Um, you watch TV. I remember when Ebony Live was on TSTV, and it was always interesting watching Ebony Live and Ebony Life, and it was always interesting how most of them, apart from just a few of them, always spoke with an American accent, and you wonder if this TV station was actually in Lagos or in Los Angeles. You understand? So now the world is less colorful. It's one color, it's one accent, it's one dress system, it's one music, it's one style of film, it's one style of design, it's one style of architecture. So the world is less colorful. You understand? So I think me and my wife normally joke about this. We're like, when we were growing up, if you traveled to the US and you came back, people will gather around you to listen to your experience. But now nobody cares. You travel to the US. What? I travel to the US every night when I go on my phone. You understand? I travel to the US every night when I watch TV. So what are you seeing there that I've not seen before you? You went to go and see the Washington Monument. Man, I watched the film and they took me inside the Washington Monument. Did you go inside? You understand what I'm saying? So, like my kids right now, they know more US brands than Nigerian brands. There's no brand you can show them US that they won't know. Fast food, clothing brand, they know all these things, but they've never been to the US before. You understand? They know about the brand. It's almost like if they've experienced it. So, but they know it more than Nigerian brands. You understand? So, if you were to show them the logo of any of these old eat outs, you understand? Mr. Biggs is even still, well, let's say Mr. Biggs. If I show my youngest son Mr. Biggs or my first son Mr. Biggs, he probably won't know it. He won't know that logo. But if I showed him McDonald's, which is not in Nigeria, he will know it. You understand? So there's obviously a war and a sweeping away of our current environment, and everybody has moved to this virtual Western environment. So yeah, I think in a roundabout way, the answer to your question is yes. There's definitely a war going on. You understand? In the value and cultural system of the world.
Thank you so much for that. At least for me, that asks the question, it helps me better understand what is going on right now. And we have a question now, and the question is, what are the major challenges faced by African youths in understanding and respecting our cultural heritage? Because it seems like there's no, just like you said, everybody now wants to talk Western, look Western, act Western. So what are the challenges our youth face in understanding and respecting our cultural heritage?
The challenges they face in understanding our cultural heritage. Um, this discussion, it can go 500 different ways, and and we can track back as far back as hundreds of years ago, and we can track back as far back as 50 years ago, or we can track back as far back as yesterday. You understand? So I'm trying to judge in my mind where to start tracking back so that we don't get lost, because it's a very deep conversation. What are the challenges young people face right now in terms of um, the the infusement of Western culture, eradicating African culture? I think one of the biggest challenges is their perception of what African culture is. And so, every time you say a word, the human being is made not just to think of a word as a word, but think of a word as a picture. So what I would ask right now is, when I say African culture, what comes to your mind now for each and every one of you? When I say that thing, African culture, what's the image you see? And I can guarantee that most people will see African huts, and they will see a more rural environment. So when we say African culture, immediately we start looking at Yoruba culture, Igbo culture, what my grandfather knew, what was in the village, what was this. That in itself is a problem, because we've restricted African culture to rural living and underdevelopment. So when we say African culture, it doesn't sound interesting. There are a lot of people that will not tune in to this Zoom call we're having just based on the topic African culture. Like, I don't know. That just sounds like some archaic stuff. Because the picture they have is like you are telling them to go back to traditional living, and you're telling them to go back to archaic living. You understand? So one of the biggest challenges that young people have right now is what is painted in their mind as Africanness. When you say Africa, first thing you think is lion, jungle, zebra, thatch roof, and people that talk with a cliff. You understand? You talk heavy languaging. Um, you don't think skyscrapers. You don't think card roads. You don't think modern classrooms. You don't think any of those things. You think back to the roots. Do you understand? And that is a problem people have, because that's not attractive to people. And I don't blame people for that not being attractive, because it's not attractive, because we are, by human beings, we are progressive. So when we think Africa, we think in terms of retardation. You understand? But if I was to talk about think Western culture, you understand, immediately we start seeing electronics, we start seeing technology, we start seeing fast pace, we start seeing modern um, modern dressing, modern music. All of a sudden it just becomes more lit up. You understand? So the problem is our imagination of what it means to be African. And so we must be able to, we must have the ability to divide tradition, you understand, from culture. So a lot of times when we say culture, we always think of tradition. Tradition is different from culture. And so and that's why it's always ridiculous when people try to talk about African culture and they try to costume themselves to be African. So when someone say I'm African, you see all the beards is you understand, like big what they call it, cowrie type jewelry, always wearing, kente and whatever it is and stuff like that. That's like wearing a costume. You understand? So we've reduced it to a circus where you have to dress as a clown or dress as a mime. It's not about that. Culture is more about the way you think. You understand? So you can't dress the way you dress. I'm wearing a shirt. You understand? But it doesn't stop me from being African. It now talks about your value system. You understand? Your belief system. So not just your tradition. You understand? Tradition is not what we're talking about. Tradition would change. Tradition would always change. And that's welcome. You understand? But then when we talk about Africanness, we are talking about our way of doing things, how we value people, how we value relationship, our sense of togetherness and community. You understand? Doing things for the general good rather than for the individual good. That's what we mean by African heritage. Because the Africans or Africa as a whole is a communal environment. You understand? It has always been that way. We are communal. We've always been communal. So it's always been settlement of communities and and tribes being together. So it has always been, I think because of the way our our um our our ecosystem is in Africa, is also the way the people are. So you see that when you come to Africa, you'd realize that our fauna, you understand, fauna, there are flora and fauna. Our flora is the what they call it, the plant system. But when we talk about fauna, the animals, when you look at the animals in Africa, how do they live? So let's look at the animals in Africa. We have the popular ones. We have lions, we have elephants, we have zebras, we have the apes, you understand? So the gorillas and monkeys and stuff like that. Those are the animals we have here. Now think about it. How do they live? You understand? They live in lions, elephants, zebras. All of them live in herds, prides. You understand? They live together. They don't live apart. All of them. It's a very community-based animal kingdom that we have. There's hardly any African animal that is solitary. That's why you don't have tigers here. Tigers are solitary. They can't stay here. So you see, there is an ecosystem that even the people too live in. We are very community based. That's how we are. Check any animal, Africa, anyone, they live together. It's always together. But when you start going away from this temperate region to the colder regions, that's when you start seeing Arctic fox. Do you understand? They don't live together. They are always solitary. You understand? They live in caves alone. Tigers, they live alone. Polar bears, they live alone. You understand? So most of the animals there, they are very, very solitary because the environment is very harsh. You understand? So they are not communal. And the same thing affects even the higher animals, the people. We as Africans, we are social. We are social as people. Our value system is to be together and to help each other and to protect each other. The value system of the West is the same way their fauna is. They are solitary. You understand? So they're solitary. You see them digging burrows for them and their family. So you understand? So an Arctic fox might not see another Arctic fox for years. You understand? A polar bear doesn't see another polar bear. They don't live in communities. You understand? They might not see each other for years. A mountain lion, they don't live together. They don't live like normal lions. Mountain lions live solitary. You understand? Foxes, the same thing. They don't live together. That's why you don't see them here. So you can see it's a nature mindset. But you see, when we begin to take in that Western mindset, we begin to live the opposite way. So the Western mindset is fostering a sense of isolation. Live by yourself, stay away. So you see a lot of people, I don't just like to hang out with people. I just want to be alone, day your day, make I day my day. And it's killing us because we are not made like that. The same thing, if you do it to a lion, put it in a cage, in a zoo, to get sick. Do you understand? The same thing, elephants, put them in a cage, a zoo, just by itself, it will be sick. Do you understand? They want to be with each other. They want to be together. I have a group of desert tortoises here. And as tortoises, together. They're always together. When they want to sleep, they cuddle up together in one place. If you take one away, you see how it acts. It acts sick. It doesn't just like the fact that it's alone. They like to eat together. So even when you try to isolate one and give it food alone, it will leave that food and go and eat community food. You understand what I'm saying? And because they are here, that's how they do. You understand? So there has been a lack of adequate portrayal of what it means to be African. We've restricted it to how we dress, how we talk, you understand, all those things. No, those things are okay to change. You understand, with education, those things will change. With the fact that you now speak two languages, English and Yoruba, you wouldn't have a thick Yoruba accent like someone that just was taught Yoruba all their lives. That doesn't make you any less African. But it's those core internal things that are natural that you fight against. Those are the things that really corrupt people in the long run. So the truth is that the biggest challenge people have when it comes to this African mentality is what is the mentality itself, is what they think about what it means to be African. You understand? The research doesn't go, it's not very deep at all. It's not about what is in us, it's about acting a part. You understand? It's not about how we think anymore. It's not about how we dress, the kind of shoes we use and stuff like that. Those things are good, but they're more traditional than what you say is African. What's African is how we are as people. Is that collaborative spirit? Is that all or none? You understand? If it doesn't work for everybody, there's no reason why it should work for me. There's no reason why I should enjoy over my community. You understand? The communal spirit that is fast eroding because we have this Western isolation mentality of if I do well, then to hell with every other person. That is that perception that is the real problem.
Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to quickly follow up on this because I agree with you that as Africans, we are communal, and it's very important for us to have that community spirit. And you said something interesting, and because I wanted to follow up on that. Is it a programming thing? Because you said something about when we talk of the African culture, we look at hordes, we look at maybe people, and I see that a lot when you go maybe news anytime even news channels, foreign news channels want to bring up anything about Africa, they first portray these areas that make it seem like Africa is backward and all that, and it seems like we've accepted this as Africans as well, and it has affected our communal spirit. Some weeks ago, I stumbled on a video of Dangote, the richest man, quote unquote, or one of the richest men in Africa, complaining about the difficulty of him as an Africa going going to another Africa or going to African countries as against a foreigner, just the visa issue in terms of like the visa restriction for him as an African going across Africa. And that has been an issue. I've stumbled across conversations about that, especially on Twitter, where we're asking as Africans, as a young person, why can't I just freely travel across Africa to experience diverse culture, diverse values, to have that conversation? It's easier for someone, an American, a young American, to just travel across it. They'll come make a YouTube video about it. I've been to 30 African countries in maybe 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months, and all that. But just to go from Nigeria to 5 African countries, it's like restriction upon restriction. That can't happen. I don't find that easy. So I don't know. Just help me understand, like, isn't that has helped, don't that help, contribute to all these challenges we face right now, that everybody's now isolated and now everybody should be on their own and all, and hasn't it kind of like inhibited Africa's development as well?
Yeah, that's a good observation. Territory has always been a problem, and this issue of you need to show this thing before you enter my territory is a really bigger problem. It's very saddening that as an African you can't travel to every African country without a visa. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Absolutely no sense. That I need a visa to go to Tanzania. I don't know whether I need that. I don't keep track of all these visa free or not visa free. But I had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and it makes no sense. You understand that we still levy each other to um, to visit, the country of the relative. It doesn't make any sense. Just like every time I go to my sister's place, my sister lives in an estate. It's a high security estate, and it's always frustrating when I go there because every time I go there, I have to call her that I'm at the gate, and she has to call them at the gate to let me in. Always very annoying. You understand? Because I know the level of familiarity between my sister and I. There was a time we were living next door, and I could just go there at any time. But now she's living in this high security estate, and very, very hard. And that's exactly what we're doing to ourselves in Africa, where we need to wait for a visa to go to Zimbabwe. It doesn't make any sense. But then, it is all those things are not, they're not by accident. You understand? They're highly intentional for it to be that way, so that we do not investigate and explore ourselves as Africans. It keeps us wanting to go out. You understand? So if you are thinking, I have to get a visa for Zimbabwe, instead of using my money to get a visa for Zimbabwe, why don't I use my money to just get a visa for Dubai? You understand what I'm saying? Or a visa for the UK. So in the end, we it kind of kills our morale to go around and to find out and to integrate with each other. So it has always been it's the oldest strategy in the book, divide and conquer. It works. You understand? It works like magic. You can divide people, you can conquer them. You understand? Turn them against themselves. So divide and conquer is a very subtle divide and conquer tactics that has been fostered. That which is, don't let them in. Don't make yourself easily accessible. If you don't talk to each other, then there's no way you can build a relationship. There will be animosity between you. There will be a sense of apathy. You understand? So the Zimbabwe doesn't seem familiar. The Zimbabwean doesn't seem familiar to me. The Ugandan doesn't seem familiar to me. The American seems more familiar to me. You understand? So and I said that conversation can go into different. If you look at it politically, it has to do with our leaders. You understand, our policymakers, because they are the ones that pass these policies for them to say there must be visa entry for people from Nigeria, and that's because of a poverty mentality that we have that keeps our leaders making rules and legislation because they want to line their pockets. You understand, that have far-reaching implications on our sense of identity. So yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. It does make sense. You understand, those are part of things that tear us apart. But those things are not things that just happen randomly. Those things have been carefully thought out. You know, and carefully strategized to be like that, to just keep us divided. Can you hear me, IK?
Oh, yes, yes.
Are you there?
Sorry.
Okay. I just realized
Yes,
that.
my,
All right.
yeah, just had a bit of a jittery network. Okay, so moving on quickly, I want to talk about this the rise of movements, whether you call it pro-choice or like there's been rise of movements across the world, especially in the case of the LGBTQ plus, so many Western backed or Western powered movements, whether it's feminism and all that. How how are these movements, how are they impacting us as Africans? And especially when you talk about, I want to focus on our values as against cultures, as African values. How have these movements impacted us as Africans?
I can't hear you again.
And all.
IK.
Oh, okay, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? trying to figure out. Sorry, can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I
I
can hear you
can
now.
hear you. I think it's a network issue from his end. Okay, great. He can hear you.
From
Please
my
go
Oh,
end.
ahead,
okay,
Ike.
okay, okay.
Yes,
So
it looks like it's from your
okay.
end because I was hearing
All
Ike.
right.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay. So
Yeah.
I was asking about how these movements, whether it's the LGBTQ plus, the feminism movement or Me Too movement, like how have movements like these, how have they impacted us as Africans? How have they impacted the traditional African values or the African values? I don't want to use the word traditional, just African values per se.
Okay. I heard your question, so wait for TA to respond.
All right.
Ike,
Sorry,
can you hear me?
my network went off there again.
Okay. Okay, great.
Oh,
I don't know if you
okay.
can still hear me. My network kind of went
Yes,
off there for a while.
yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you. We
So
can.
Ike,
So
can
I
I
don't know if
ask
you heard Ike. Okay.
No, I didn't hear that question to the end. Sorry.
Okay, Ike, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I was asking about movements like the LGBTQ plus, the feminist or the Me Too movement, this Western-backed movement or Western-powered movement. How have they impacted our African values per se? Because we import a lot of things in Africa, including we're now importing cultures and values. How have these movements impacted us as Africans?
All right, yeah. Well, yeah, these distortions, because there are distortions in human function and human relationships. This LGBTQ XYZ movements, all this feminist movements, you know, uh, they are fast coming into our society, and there are a lot of people beginning to become sympathetic and accepting of this movement. And much more people over time will begin to accept it. They will begin to accept it because the West is totally pushing it. And I really feel, you see, there are a lot of people that might be on this call right now that will tell you, and I don't support LGBT Q movement. I do not support gender mentality. I do not support, all these things. For now, they might not support it. But going forward, you'll be surprised how many people will begin to accept it. And this is where we need to be careful, you understand, about Western influence on us, especially as Africans. You see, the West they have two things on us, two things that hold us back and hold us down. Those two things are number one, media, and number two, aid. Media and aid. Those two things are always going to keep Africans shackled. The control of media and the control of aid. Aid being financial aid from the West. As long as the West is the one transmitting what we see as media, they control our minds. You understand? That's the truth. And that has been the biggest advantage of the West for a very long time, that they understood the power of media, the power of branding. They understood it very early. You see, they were quick to catch on. And I'm going to give you a small story about the West. We're going to talk about the US and the UK. You understand? Now, I want you to understand that these societies, these Western societies, no matter how developed they are, no matter how developed they are, inherently they have a barbarian soul. Do you understand? They have a barbaric soul within them, because a lot of where they came from was not very civilized. You understand? They are not a very civilized people at the very soul. You understand? At their very soul, they are not civilized. I'm not saying this in any form of derogatory form. I'm just saying as a matter of fact, the West is not, at its very soul, it's a very barbaric culture. If you can call it a culture. You see, in the early 17th, 18th to the 19th century, um, when you look at a society like the United States, it was pure anarchy that was going on there. In the 17th century, it was anarchy. It was nothing like what you see today. Right now, they've dressed it up a lot, but at the soul, it's still what was in the 17th century. In the 17th century, the West, in terms of the US, was known as the Wild West. You understand? It was the Wild West. They were like wild animals. They had no control, no law, no values, nothing. Anything went. It was a time in the lives of the people there. Now, at that time, um, they had conquered the Native Americans largely. You understand? They have sent them away from that place, and so it was full of the people we call cowboys today. You understand? But those are the Westerners, and it was called the Wild West. Then anybody they could come into your people will go into people's house, kill the father, rape the wife, rape the daughter, kill the sons, burn the house, and nobody would do anything. It was that what was happening in the Wild West. You go to a bar to drink, and somebody insults you, and you can shoot the person in the head right there. You can shoot the person. If you had the respect for the person, you tell the person to go outside, and then they go outside and you draw your guns, and whoever can shoot the other person first, that's all. And they leave that person in the middle of the street to rot, and the person, and they will go back and drink and celebrate and do like if nobody died. And after a while, when the person starts to blow, they will drag the person into the desert and stuff. Not even a proper burial, just drag them to the desert. The police had no power. So the police would, if someone did something wrong, what they would do is put the person's photo out there and say, whoever can kill this person, kill the person and we'll give you money. So everybody carried a weapon. You understand? It was a very, very loose society. It was wild. It was crazy. You understand? It was crazy. There was huge insecurity. There was a lot of train robbery. You understand? Trains just be traveling and people just stop it with horses, get on the train, kill everybody there, rob it and go. You understand? And nobody would do anything. Anything went. It was about who could shoot fastest. You understand? That's what it was. It was prostitution. It was everywhere. Daylight prostitution. It wasn't at night. Daylight. The woman's average job there was prostitution. There was no other job for women but prostitution. You couldn't do anything. You would be a prostitute. You understand? So that's what the West was. It was barbaric. You understand? Absolutely barbaric. And if you watch movies like, what's this movie by the Coen brothers? It's called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Try to watch it on Netflix. It's a very interesting movie, but it totally paints what the US was like during the Wild West days. If you also watch this other movie called The Harder They Fall, The Harder They Fall, those films really depict what it was like during those days. Immediately after the slave slavery, after abolition of slavery, things just went to hell. You understand? Things just totally went to hell. And something now happened. In that time, a group of people came and they were called salesmen. So men began to sell stuff and they called it snake oil. Snake oil. They came up and started selling things because diseases were very rampant then. And so they came up and said they were selling concoctions and they called it snake oil. Now, the Chinese at that time had developed, were able to extract oil from the skin of snake. And those snake oils were actually good for health functions. They were good to help you when you had some kind of diseases. So they could treat a lot of things. So a lot of these American men made concoctions and called them snake oil. And were selling it to people, and people started buying those things. But it was not snake oil. They were just concoctions of things, you understand, that didn't really make sense. And they will sell it and they will go from county to county selling it and they will sell to a lot of people and people will buy and it will not work. But by the time you knew it didn't work, the salesman has gone somewhere else and they're going and people became millionaires doing this thing. Absolute millionaires. And you see, someone like Rockefeller's father, that's what he did. He was a snake oil salesman, William Rockefeller. That's what the family got their main money from. It wasn't from industrial stuff from his son. It was from that his father's snake oil sales. So that's what they used to do. But it never used to work. It was a scam. And what happened was when people found out that it was a scam, they couldn't do anything because they realized, okay, this guy scammed you, but they couldn't report to the police because number one, the police was not functional. Number two, the police will tell you that did he hold a gun to your head when he sold this thing? You say no. They just spoke to us and sold it to us. And they were like, so we can't do anything. You didn't ask enough questions. You didn't ask enough questions, so he's right to sell you anything. And that thing sold a seed in the Western society. And that's the seed we're still grappling with today. That seed called capitalism. That's the seed of capitalism. That as long as you can get somebody to buy it, and they buy it without you forcing them, you are good to go. It doesn't need to work. You understand? And that's what has destroyed the Western society today. And that's what they are selling back to us. That very seed of capitalism. That thing that snake oil tradesmen used to do then, to say it doesn't work, but then I have sweet mouth. You understand? So you can see that what they kind of fostered them was your ability to talk. If you can talk well, they can sell it to you. If you can talk well, as long as you can talk well, and you can sell it without threatening that person's life, you are in business. You understand? And so they focused a lot on sales by talking, and then they also found out something called packaging and branding. And that's when they started branding their products. So those snake oil, the bottles were incredible. The labels were good. You understand? So you didn't question it. And because of that, the branding blinded people. So you see, that was their first entry into media, that branding and that ability to talk and talk people under the table. That when they realized there's something here, there's something here. If we can sell this thing, everything to the rest of the world like this, we will be the strongest country in the world. And that mentality is what they took from country to country, that snake oil mentality. Just say, let's just learn to talk and put it in a good container, and people will not question it. As a matter of fact, it got to a point where people were beginning to say, we wouldn't buy these things anymore. So the snake oil merchants were having problems. So they now realized that they need to get them to continue buying. And then they started mixing those things with cocaine and other addictive things. So even though it wasn't working for you as a drug, it was working for you as an addiction. So people kept on buying those snake oil drugs that were not working because it wasn't making them feel fine, but it was making them feel high. And that's where the drug epidemic started in the US, through those snake oil merchants, because they needed to continue selling. So people knew that it doesn't work, but I like the way I feel when I take it. But my cancer is still there. My ulcer is still there. Diabetes is still there, but it makes me feel really good. You understand? And that's the problem with the media that the West has kind of propagated today. They realize the power of media. And that power of media is why they are able to propagate whatever it is that we are accepting today, because they understand the media. The media that they have is what we are beginning to take in. And they're using to foster all these things like these disruptions in sexual orientation, this disruption in the feminine essence, these disruptions in anything. They're not stupid people, you understand? Many years ago, like 20 years ago, nobody would think in Nigeria would be accommodating of LGBTQ. But with the advent of platforms like Netflix and the rest of them, where you're watching something and 5 minutes later just bring in a disruptive coercing into it, just begin to chip down on your resistance. And before you know, you're like, it's not that bad now. What do you mean? Just allow it. That's how they are born. Before you know it, you begin to have an affinity towards it. It's the way they control media. So their media control is the biggest issue we have. And once you begin to take in their media control, you begin to take in their values and their mentality. So that's their first hold. The first hold is media. You understand? They write the most books in the world. They write the most books. You don't write more books than them. You understand? They write the most books for children, for women, for men, for romance, for whatever it is. They write the most books. They produce the most movies. Nobody produces more movies than Hollywood. That's the truth. If you see, Bollywood might come close. But Bollywood, the problem is that they don't control the media. You understand? They don't control the media. So they might be producing films, but what is the platform to put the films on? Nollywood, they produce films, but no media. You understand what I'm saying? But Hollywood, not only do they produce the films, they produce the media that transmits the films. You understand? That's why they will always be number one. So media is the first thing. That's why you need to be careful. So a lot of people, as long as they're still drinking that their media, eating that their media, very soon you'll begin to have affiliations and sympathy and empathy or sympathy towards all these movements. And before you know, you start thinking that way. The second thing I said is aid. Aid is a big problem. And that's why it's important for them to keep Africans and the rest of the world impoverished so that they can always give aid. Aid is even worse than media. It's a worse hole than media because the Western world controls aid. Do you know how much aid Nigeria takes from the US, from the UK? You understand? US aid, UK aid. There are so many aid. There are so many that pump money into Nigeria. Now, why aid is a problem is, you know what they say about you never bite the hand that feeds you. That's the problem. Once the hand starts feeding you, you must be careful how you eat that food from the hand. You understand? Because the hand that feeds you can also slap you. So you see, this aid is a big issue. And that's why I keep telling people that be careful how you want to scale. Because, you know, the Western media too has taught us that in business, we ought to scale. You understand? So it has taught us scale as a matrix of success. And that's a toxic mentality. That scale, it's putting people in a lot of trouble. And people, that's why I say in the future, a lot of people will be accepting of this LGBTQ thing that you never thought you'd be accepting of it. A lot of people, a lot of young people that are young entrepreneurs now, they have no option because they are collecting aid. And aid is a problem. And because you want to scale, you collect aid. So I looked at my life and I have been very blessed in my life in a very weird way. I've been very blessed in the sense that my life has never been spectacular. I've never, even when I was working as a graphic designer, spectacular things never happened to me. Never. I never had spectacular clients. So if you look at my portfolio, I don't have any high profile clients. I don't have any. I've never won awards. I only have one award in my 20 years of doing graphic design. It came 2 years ago, and it was what's his name? Precious, Dr. Poe, that just organized something and say give you something for work you've been doing. Awards. I don't know. So when I see people and I see awards and plaques in their office, I'm like, what are these guys doing? How do they do it? You understand? I don't have awards. You understand? I don't have sponsorship. I don't have sponsorship from people. So I've never done anything and I've gotten a sponsor before. I don't have, you see, I used to wish for these things. I don't even have numbers. I don't have numbers to my social media, my YouTube channel, my videos are in their hundreds or in their tens. So some of it, you see 29 views, some of it 100 and something views. I don't have those things. And those things used to bother me before, but I realized they are a blessing. You understand? They are a blessing. And this is why we need to be careful. For some of you that think of all those things as matrix of social media views and following. The reason why a lot of people would accept these perverse things like LGBTQ or feminism or all these Me Too movements and stuff like that, why you accept it is because they will threaten you with a cancel culture. That thing is the biggest threat of anybody who is fed by the Western age. Do you understand? Cancel culture. People will do anything not to be cancelled. So there are two people that will have control. Those people that have all the resources and those people that don't have anything. I say you cannot push a man who is already down. So if you have all these things whereby you have a platform that has a lot of followers, maybe so many followers, you're at risk. Because a time would come and when those Western platforms will begin to demand a quarter of your content for all this perversity. And if you are not willing to support it with at least one content a month, mark my word, it's going to come. One content a month supporting LGBTQ or all these things, they will cancel you. Do you understand? So if you are taking that their media aid, their YouTube aid, their Instagram aid, be careful, you will cough it out one day. You see, I see a lot of people, I tell them they want to host programs and they're looking for sponsors, they're looking for foreign sponsors and stuff like that. Those things might be good, but they will come back to haunt you if they are coming from the West. So there's some people that have started programs, they have yearly programs, and those things have grown because they have aids, foreign aid, sending them foreign currency every day to scale their program. So they're having some big event centers, the lighting is good, everything is good, the backdrop, everything, the advertisement is good. We have an award system, an award show, and they're looking at it and they're like, okay, we'll sponsor this award show. We'll be giving you $100,000 every single year so that you can scale your award show. So your award show, you're advertising it on GSTV, advertising it on the internet every single time. You think you're growing. Then a time would come when they will say, this is your award show. You have to give an award to someone that is LGBTQ. You understand? What do you do? What do you do? Those people have been sponsoring you for the past 5 years. People know you at a particular height. You will not say you won't do it. A lot of people will do it that will shock you. Even churches will begin to do it because they are beginning to eat that Western aid. That aid is a problem. That aid is a problem. And that's why I feel the Bible tells, do not despise the days of small beginnings. If you can keep it as small as possible, as manageable as possible, please do. You understand? Because of that aid that a lot of people will begin to make compromises. They will make compromises. I'm telling you, you'll be shocked. That a lot of people say, I support it now. There's nothing wrong with it. Why? Because they're holding them by the genitals. You understand? They're holding them. We are not sponsoring you anymore. That your YouTube channel, you haven't interviewed somebody that is LGBT. Interview somebody. Why did they cancel you? You see? But if you are not eating their aid, you won't be scared of being cancelled. You understand? If you're not eating their awards, you understand? So all these things that seem good, international awards, international recognition, all those things can be very cancerous. That's the hold they have. Their media and their aids. So we need to be very careful of them.
Wow, like I'm happy I'm here. That's just all I can say, and I'm pretty sure that we're feeling the same. So we have like 4 minutes to go, but I just want to just talking about aid. This is from my own personal experience, and I'm going to keep details aside. I once worked with a charity organization, and then of course, when it comes to charity organizations, we receive aids and all that, and one of the compromise we had to make was supporting abortion. And I saw people that were quote unquote Christians talking and all that. Even like everybody was feeling good with abortion talks and all that. And I remember having issues with the CEO that day concerning the whole abortion thing. But it just goes to show the power of aid. Just to make us make compromise. And like I said, these were Christians and Muslims, like tongue talking, as in faithful Muslims and all that. But that day, everybody was pro-abortion, and it was just a crazy thing. Now, looking at this daunting task, these guys, they have the media, they have the aid. How do we now preserve our values? Because just like we're talking about the inevitably sorry, the just like we're talking about, AI is here, globalization is here, and it's not going anywhere. You just said something about you can, with your being at your house, you can go to US today, and then just by opening your phone and just logging in on your phone and all that, it's here. And these guys own all this. So how do we fight this, or how do we go about and preserving our core? What can we do? Because you just rightly say we don't have the media, we don't own the media, we don't even tell our stories. 99% of African stories are told by the Westerners, not even us. So how do we do this? How do we make this fight and all?
All right, that's a good question. And I think it all starts from not being so easily impressed by non-Africans. I think we are too impressed by them. And we are too impressed by them because a lot of us have not lived with them. That's the problem. We need to stop being impressed by them. When you live with them, you'll be less impressed by them. And there aren't enough Africans that have lived with them. And that's okay, but a lot of us do not even believe the people that have lived with them because we drink too much of that media water. You see, there's a difference between visiting the US or the UK or Europe and other countries in Europe. Visiting is there are three means of contact with the Western world. Three. There is contacting them and experiencing them through their media. So you can experience the US by watching their content, and you feel like if you know the US. But that's the least informative way of it, because that content is very curated and it always looks good. They've perfected that art of making that one look good. You understand? But a lot of people, what they judge the US by is what they've watched on TV. So the US is a good place to go because it looks good in this film that I watch. You understand? Some of them will buy magazine. You understand? So they still in magazines and stuff. So it's a good place. So those people, their contact with the West is through media. Some other people, their contact with the West is not just through media, but through visits. You understand? So they would always advocate and eulogize these societies because they've seen it on TV and they've gone there for 3 weeks. They've gone there for 3 weeks, for 2 weeks, for 1 month. Let's even say 4 months. They went on holiday. You understand? They went to spend their money. Now, those two experiences, they are always good. Because one thing you must understand is that these guys are good marketers. If the dynamics is your money going from your pocket to their society, they will be as good as possible. You understand? They will show you the best of their side. You understand? You will not see that they bad. It will always be a great place. So when you come back to Nigeria, you will hate Nigeria. You'll be like, this terrible place. Why did I come back? Look at 2 weeks. I just enjoyed myself. It was just because you went to visit. Everything was just a screen wall. You understand? They put a nice screen wall around the society because the dynamics is, remember, it's a capitalist society. Snake oil. To get that snake oil, they must look good. You understand? So they will show you everything you want to show you. They will smile at you. Everybody will be nice. Maybe you're buying stuff. You're going to shops you're going to Louis Vuitton to buy stuff. The white man will be the nicest person in the world. They will be so nice. You understand? So nice. They're so nice. They know how to do business. They are so nice. They don't cheat people. They're just that's what people that go on holiday think. Then there's the third point of contact, which is the real point of contact. People that go there to live. You understand? For a period of time, when you go and live there for a period of time, the dynamics now change. Because now, when you go there to live, you now have to get a job. When you now have to get a job, they now have to put their hand in their pocket to pay you. That's when they now realize that you are black. Before, you are not black, you're just a great visitor because there's money coming out of your pocket. That money has faded your skin. But when the money has to go the other way around, that's when they realize, this guy is African. Why should I pay him so much? He's a monkey, man. He's no good. He's no better than a monkey. Look at how he's talking. That's when they hear that's when they can't hear what you're saying as much anymore. And I don't understand what you're saying. You understand? But when you're a visitor and you have the money, they understand clearly. That accent, that money is like ChatGPT. You will just translate that accent into American accent. They will understand it. It's a capitalist society. Money makes the world go round. That's what capitalist societies are. It just breaks boundaries. But when it's going the other way around, that's when you start realizing its marginalization. So a lot of us, we don't understand. Once we start to understand that these systems don't like us, we think they like us because of how good their media is and how nice they are when we go on holiday. But when you actually go and live, you see, let people that go and live come and tell you their experiences. They will tell you, I've had the opportunity to live before. And I now began to understand what racism is. I had the mentality that racism was Ku Klux Klan, white the shit over your face, hanging people by the tree. No, they moved past that one. That doesn't work anymore. There's subtle racism in the way they talk, in the way they look. Now I'm able to see it so well. I can see it so well. When I can tell a racist remark, and I wish I couldn't tell it because now I can see through it. I can see it so well. When someone writes a comment that seems like a compliment, we now realize that this person is belittling you. You before I used to be impressed by it, but now, man, this person is actually insulting me. And the unfortunate thing is we are impressed by those subtle racism. We think it's a compliment. And this we are going to, because we are design series right now. I want to talk about the design world. It's highly unfortunate that we don't rate ourselves in Africa. Let's not even say Africa, forget Africa. In Nigeria, we don't rate ourselves. We rate one white person more than we rate ourselves. So Yorks will write a book. Nobody will buy it. Nobody will read it. Unless Yorks puts it up to download it for free. Nobody's interested. But then one white guy will write something and people will say, go and buy, go and buy, go and buy, go and buy. But Yorks will do a tutorial. Nobody would download it because it's Yorks now, see finish. But then one guy without any the technical skill is so poor, but he's white. You just buy from him. Because he's on Domestica. Oh, I just bought this. Then we have this feeling of, oh man, I've come in life because I bought this logo design tutorial from this guy. You understand? Not knowing that guy doesn't really care about you. That guy doesn't really care about you. And a lot of people that we rate, especially in this design industry, I have realized that a lot of them have terrible racist tendency. Terrible one. When you watch their content, you're like, how many of them have interviewed an African person before? Is that they don't exist? But they interview people from Spain, from Brazil, from the US, from Mexico, but they never interviewed an African creative before. Why? But that same Africa, they can come and say, I'm coming to Ghana next year. You guys should prepare for me. But you can come to Ghana, but you cannot investigate Ghana and see who in Ghana can I promote on my platform. But Africans, we don't think that way. We consume their content like if it's the next best thing to sliced bread. You see, until we start to rate ourselves, they will never rate us. Never. How many times have you seen an African designer being invited to speak to a Caucasian audience? How many? But you see us as African designer invite somebody, and the person, because you got to invite this person to talk and to ask them questions, we now begin to rate that person that invited them. I can't believe you got this person. It's now a badge of honor that they got a white man to come and speak to you. But when they brought IK to speak, you don't rate them. Look, we can never ever go far with that mentality. You understand? We have that white submission mentality in our heads. There was one where I attended an Instagram live before. Some years ago. I was so mad. I just logged out. Where this man was invited. And if you see how the man was behaving on the live, and he said he was from Spain or Barcelona, but then his behavior was too bad and too dismissive. He was joking all the way and just being distracted and stuff. And I'm like, if they invited this guy to come and speak in US, will he be this dismissive? But he just says, man, African guys, what do they want? Just show up, tell them whatever. Some of them can even attend your live high as a kite. They will attend it. Look, we need to start rating ourselves. We need to start rating ourselves as Africans. We don't rate ourselves enough. The other day, Lucky had a book launch and stuff, and he invited me. And there were some Europeans and stuff, Americans on the stuff. And it was incredible to me when I put up the flyer and people were like, Baba, you're doing big things. Baba doing big things. Why? Because I'm on a flyer with a white person. Forget it, I've been doing big things since. You understand? I'm not validated by who is beside me on a flyer. I'm validated by the value I give out. So I realized our mentality is so poor. When I schooled in Canada, and I'm not joking, I'm telling you the absolute truth here. When you go and school with these people, you realize how exceptional you are. When I schooled in Canada, I was #1 in my class. Look, whenever I presented my work, people gathered around my system. I tutored them, plus the lecturer. Do you understand? Plus the lecturer. Do you understand? They all learned from me. But the unfortunate thing is when I know there are frailties. I know how terribly bad they can be when it comes to technical stuff because I was in class with them. But the problem with that person that I was in class with that was a mediocre in class, if I bring him here to Nigeria, you see how they'll be opening doors for me. And just, man, this is a serious design company, but that's a non-entity in class. He doesn't know jack. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't rate ourselves, and they don't rate us too. It bleeds my heart, and I just won't mention names here. How many people we worship as Western designers that have absolutely no iota of respect for us as Africans. Absolutely none, zero. You understand? One of them wrote a book of recent, a design logo book. I said, I'll never buy that book because that guy is a racist. You understand? Me when I see it, oh, the guy wrote a book, oh, wonderful book, and but they don't know the character of the person. We are just a means to an end. But we need the only solution to these things is when we begin to rate ourselves. We need to begin to rate ourselves. That's why I like stuff like Dezign Series. When they invite you, you go, you show up. You understand? And but you realize how many people are here on this call? How many people are here? 12 people are here. Just 12. 12 people are here. 12 people. If you invited some Western people, sure people will come. Even if the person is a cleaner in a design studio, that is a white guy telling you about typography, they will just show up. It's that submissive, subservient mentality that is killing us. You understand? We rate them too highly and rate ourselves too low. You understand? Too highly, rate ourselves too low. When you have a podcast by an African person, spread it, for crying out loud. But then you spread the one by the guy that doesn't even know you exist. Doesn't know you exist. But we have numbers on our side, so they are cashing out here. They cash out here every single time. But then we don't use our numbers to our own advantage. So the dynamics will never change. Never. But we need to start putting an embargo on these things so that we become cherished. You understand? We become cherished. So don't let anybody fool you. If you're watching any platform in this world, any platform that has never had an African person, whether South African, Ghanaian, a creative to come and talk, that's the racist platform. I don't care who they are, they're racist. Because you can't tell me that there isn't one person here that is worth investigating, asking a question about how good their work is. You understand? I don't believe that. It shows that they don't care. They actually do not care. If you are reading one magazine that is a design magazine that has never ever shown an African design before, that's a racist. It's racist. You understand? The world is too connected for them not to be able to investigate Africa. And I dare to say there are a lot of incredible African artists in this country. In this country, even outside this country. I've forgotten this girl's name. I've forgotten her name. But then she does incredible African art. There's no way why that girl should not be interviewed on one of these platforms. No way. Her work is not different from the rest of them. There's no way why York should not be interviewed. His work is not different. And those people are out there. If you just search, you understand? But the problem is, you might not even find them because the African community is not even doing anything to promote them. So we need to begin to rate ourselves. All these things will never ever change. It will never change. We'll always be having Sam David coming to teach us. He's always be the guest speaker. Sam David. It will never be Femi Komolafe or Uche something or Adamu something. You understand? It will never be. And until it starts to be, we can never begin to take our position as Africans on the world stage. We can never. But we need to begin to rate ourselves. Very important. Very, very important. Very important. So those are my thoughts. If there's going to be a solution to this thing at all, it starts from us, our mentality, and how we accept each other. How we accept each other. How we rate each other, how we appreciate each other, and how we promote each other at the end of the day.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we have overshoot. I want to apologize to everybody here because we're supposed to end by 8:30. I don't know, Michael, what do we take questions or because if you leave me here, I will ask and ask and ask.
Man,
Because
this is why this is a thought-provoking session.
it
Man,
is.
a thousand thoughts has just gone through my mind this evening. Like you know these things, but it comes in a very dynamic way again. That sometimes we are unconsciously practicing these things, it's so sad that we don't rate ourselves. And I feel so sad this evening. I'm telling you, that's just how I feel. I just wanted to add my voice. I feel so sad. And yes, that sadness it should transform into fostering change and how we can be able to begin to add our voices. When he was talking, I began to think through virtually all the creative platform that I know. And I could clearly see what he's saying. But you see, these things are subtle. It's just there, but you don't even know that this is what is happening. So, sorry guys, I please don't mind me. I don't feel happy this evening, right? So, but it's fine. It should make us to think. That's the essence of this conversation. It's the essence is to shine light where there is darkness. Okay, that's the essence of conversation like this. So this is 8:44. Want to take questions. Just adding my voice to Ike's. Want to take questions. Maybe do questions for the next. This 8:44:50. Maybe I'm assuming this 8:45. So maybe next 10 minutes
10
max.
minutes, yeah. Yeah, let's do 10 minutes.
Next 10 minutes max, right? So so if we are waiting for question, maybe if you have one more question, you can share so when the question comes in, he can pause and respond so that at least Mama, I'm still in a session, okay? So Ike, yeah, you have the mic.
Oh, okay. So please, you know how we do it. If you have a question, please drop it on the chat board, and then I'll take it from there and then shoot. So I just want to ask, because since our conversation, since design series emerged, one topic has always consistently been popping up: AI. So I want to also ask about AI right now. How do we use AI? I believe AI is an opportunity for us. How can we use AI to advance our cause as Africans, whether through storytelling or whatever? Like, how can we use this to advance our cause as Africans in terms of like advancing our culture, advancing our values out there? Because I believe it gives us some sort of level playing field as well.
So I think your mic is mute, has been muted, IK.
Oh, okay. Please, can you hear me now?
Yeah. I heard a lot of your question. You're asking how can we use AI to foster our cause.
Yes.
All right, that's a great question. And I think Jobs has said a lot about AI and how it's absolutely necessary for us to use AI in today's world. Very, very important. It's not even optional anymore. It's not a trend. I tell people it's a disruption. It's a disruption that's going to cause a dent in the way work is being done. And AI, as a matter of fact, exposes a lot of cultural biases. AI is one of those platforms that if you type man wearing white t-shirt and blue jeans, it's going to bring you by default a white man. Until you put you qualify it and say black man. You understand? It's not going to come up with black man. So I realize that whenever I'm prompting in AI, I need to be very specific about that word black or African. And that already tells me by default it's not made for us. It wasn't made for us. You understand? A lot of the prompting is very Western. So it's going to give you white immediately. You understand? Until you put that there. And that's a big problem. You understand? And that shows that we haven't learned our voice enough to the machine learning. Because machines are not so biased. The human being can be biased, but the machine isn't biased. And what that means is AI does machine learning. And what machine learning is, it's able to gather information by how much information had been put into the internet over the past few years. So when you type man and it comes up with a white man, it is not doing that because AI is racist. It's doing that because Black people have not contributed enough on the internet. That's what it just means. They haven't contributed enough. And so if you don't contribute enough, it cannot pull enough. And that's why we need to contribute more. We consume too much. We consume too much. We're not contributing enough. We need to start contributing to that design ecosystem, or to that internet online ecosystem. We need to begin to leave our footprints there. So when they just type in something, just comes out with an African, type it in another African, we bombard them because we have the numbers. You understand? We have the numbers. Like there was this designer that did a typeface, and I totally commend him. I've forgotten his name. Did this Ojuju typeface. Incredible stuff. And people are using it. People are using it, and in fact, why? You understand? And that's because the way we carried it on our head in this Nigeria was the actual, in Nigeria, a butterfly should flap his wings in Nigeria to cause a hurricane in Brazil. You understand? Nigeria we are well positioned. Look, we are not using what we have. When we use what we have, we can tilt the world to our own side of the world. And they know this thing. You understand? Look, if only we understood what we have. We see what we have as a disadvantage. These are our numbers. Okay. Our numbers cannot be disregarded. We are the only ones that disregard our numbers. I'm telling you, if we just supported ourselves, each other. Sorry, I'm going back to this, going away from that AI, but then this is very, very important to me. If we just supported ourselves, I'm telling you, the dent we can make in the world is ridiculous. To be born in Nigeria or born in Nigeria is an incredible blessing. Incredible blessing. That I was born in this country, a blessing. A country that has so many people that are so vocal. Do you understand? So vocal and have this energy that cannot be ignored. But we're not using it. We are using it against ourselves. You understand? That's the biggest problem. But then, until we start making that noise, even with AI, you understand? It's always going to be biased. So we need to use AI. I use AI every single day. And as much as I use it, I try to promote my values with it. So first thing I promote are my spiritual values, and second thing I promote are my ethnicity. You understand? My national values. So my AI, you hardly see me do AI of a person that is white. I don't do white people AI. It has to be black. You understand? Black people. It has to be black. So even my family, we started developing this thing where we do AI stories every month. And the second one, we did one like last month or 2 months ago, that was about an African jungle, an elephant and a rat and stuff. And we looked for names. We didn't go with all those Jerry the mouse and all those kind of things. You understand? So it was very African. You understand? In its essence, we use African animals. You understand that kind of thing? You can't be using polar bear when I've never seen a polar bear before. You understand? So we use Africa, we use the elephant, we use the mouse, we use that kind of thing. For us, that's how we add to that footprint with AI. Right now, we are doing another one that it's always about animals, but then we're talking about a dog. And the dog we used was not any bull mastiff, bulldog, husky. I don't know those dogs. Those dogs are not from here. So we use our West African Basanji. For the first time, my children know what Basanji is. You understand? They know Basanji. This is our own dog. You understand? It's a smart dog. It's an agile dog. It has good skin, good health, lives long, very alert. That is how we push it. You understand? So use AI to push a narrative. You understand? Look, I've been using this AI called ideogram. That ideogram. Every time I go there to create stuff, I just see what these Westerners are doing, and all of it is just vacuous. When you see something is vacuous, has no value. It looks good, but then you see somebody do a skull with fire, do a woman with her breast hanging out, do just ridiculous things. I'm like, no value whatsoever. So whenever I do my work there, I'm like night and day. When I try to do work that when someone will look at it, it will make their day. You understand? To give them some form of clarity. So use AI as much as possible. Don't use AI mindlessly. You understand? Use it to promote values, to promote culture, use it to promote yourself as a Black African person as much as possible. So AI is a must. It's not an option. If you want to have work in the future, use AI. You have to use it, and it is relatively free for now. You must get to start using. Play with it. Play. You understand? Play even while you're still using your software, which will go out of date very soon. Keep using AI. While you're still using your laptop, use your phone, because laptop companies will have issues in the future. People will not be using laptop as much anymore. You understand? So if you are too used to using laptop to work, start using your phone. I was telling some people this on, I've forgotten what platform I was on. Everything is going to the phone. Radiography, phone. Photography, phone. Medicine, phone. Everything is going towards the phone now. Everything is phone. Graphic design, phone. You understand? So that phone is very important. Use your phone as much as possible. So AI is a must. You must learn how to use it if you want to work in the future. If you want to learn how to work in the future, learn to work fast, learn to work portable with your phone, and learn to work excellent, because AI produces almost excellent work. You understand? The human error is minimized and will continue to be minimized. So don't sweat it too much. Don't sweat it too much. The world has changed totally. So work has become easier. Don't let people deceive you that hard work is one that will get rewarded. You'll be surprised. You see how the Bible says the kingdom of heaven is like somebody that went and called laborers, and he called some people from early in the morning. He called some people at noon. Called some people at closing time, and he paid money. You see, that's what's going to happen. Oh. Don't let anybody deceive you that your hard work is what's going to make you pay. You'll be surprised. People will just do one click and they will pay them more than they're paying you. You will feel cheated. But then that's the reality of the world. You understand? That's what will happen, because they were smart enough to learn how to use that one click. So one thing I should tell you, AI platforms. AI platforms, I use basically two, but there's another one that my wife introduced to me yesterday. There is Bing for designers. Just Google Bing designers. Ideogram, I just talked about Ideogram, use it. There's another one. There was one my wife told me yesterday that allows you to expand the phone, makes it high detail, high resolution. I've forgotten what it's called. Just yesterday, I was introduced to that. But there are so many, you understand. Just look for AI platforms for designers. They'll be introduced to you, and just choose the one that works best for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I believe that's all. I don't know if there's anything you want to say, sir. Like anything maybe you just want to say to round up, but we don't have any other question, and then we are out of time. Michael, I don't know if there's any other thing, but sir, I don't know if there's you have any last maybe something, a word for us.
I think what I just want to
Sort
say
of
is what I just want to say is just further report this thing, or support African, support Nigerian, support them. There are people doing incredible stuff, doing good stuff. And even if it's not incredible, it's your brother's stuff. You understand? Sell it well. You understand? We need to start supporting. It has to be a habit. You need to habitually support each other. Lucky wrote a book. You see, look, do you know how many books I've written forward for? I don't turn them down. No. They tell me, sir, please write a forward for my book. It takes me time. It's not like if I like to write it. But then I'm like, this is my brother now. This is an African stuff. Why would I not lend my voice? I will write the forward, even if it takes me time. You understand? I've been writing forward for people's books for years. You understand? Years. I still wrote for Lucky's book. I'm more than proud to write for that. You understand? I will lend my voice. Support your people. They are writing a book, support. They are doing a podcast, show up. They are having a webinar, show up, for crying out loud. Look, 12 people here, I will show up. You understand? One person, I will show up. I don't really care, because it is my people. You understand? I cannot be supporting somebody in the US and not supporting my people. It doesn't make sense. You understand? So we need to support each other. IK, you are here now. You have brand talk. How many times have I been on brand talk? And many times. And you call me, I will continue to show up. You understand? Because we need to support this thing, but we need to be together on this thing. You understand? design series should not have 12 people. It is no. There should be no graphic design platform that should have 12 people, that should have 20 people, that should have 50 people. Actually, we should be looking at 500. To the extent that Zoom, you say, let's create something for this African, because when they gather to meet, they are always overloading our system. You understand? But we don't do that. You understand? Because we don't rate ourselves. But there's incredible value here. York's conversation, incredible value. Looking at the numbers. Why? Why? Is it that you guys didn't promote it? You promoted it the best you can, but people have better things to do. But when they hear that it's Chris Do that is coming, you say they'll show up. You do gives value, you understand? Cool. But the most annoying one, if they don't even know the person, as long as it's white, you understand, they'll just show up. They'll just show up. You understand? That's subservient mindset. You need to get rid of it and show up because the person is black in Nigeria. Let me hear what my brother got to say. Let me hear what my sister has to say. We need to begin to take up that mentality. That's the only way we can be a force to reckon with in the long run.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate you for giving us your time. And yeah, like I said, we really overshoot, and that's because of how important and how important this session is, just to put it that way. And I want to appreciate everyone that is still on this call with us. I know like it's 9 o'clock now, and thank you for your time. Thank you for being here today. And I really appreciate. And I want to, Michael, I don't know if there's anything we're missing, just
Okay.
to round up so that I won't keep people waiting.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tia. This is it's been an amazing session. I sincerely appreciate you for all you do. Thank you so much, and we thank you for always showing up for us. From the very word go, you've been here, and please send your emojis to him. And one more thing we just need to do before we call it a day or a night